Olandria was the breakout star of Love Island season 7, and not just of the season itself, but arguably the entire US franchise. Because since leaving that villa, she has reached a level of visibility and mainstream popularity the show rarely produces, especially as a dark skinned black woman. And this is not to diminish any of the black women that was on season 7, they're all fabulous. But there was something very specific about the way people responded to Olandria. My name is Erica, and as we are looking toward a new season of Love Island, it inspired me to reflect on why. What made Olandria's journey so different? Because Olandria wasn't the first beautiful black woman to walk through those villa doors. She wasn't the first funny and authentic. Hell, she wasn't even the first dark-skinned black woman. So why was Olandria different? I believe that in many ways, she excelled in a series of impossible events that Black women know all too well. Events that I would like to call the Black Woman Olympics.
Y'all don't see me crying. It's okay.
You are so strong.
You have to be. Ain't nobody else on here gonna be strong for me. Ain't nobody else on here gonna be strong for me.
Watching that back, I feel mixed emotions. Because on one hand, I do admire Olandria's emotional restraint here. Because keeping your composure while essentially being dumped from the island takes an incredible amount of emotional control. And I also understand the hesitance around maybe not wanting to break down in front of a group of people you barely know. But the longer I sat with this moment, it honestly made me angry and sad. Because what at first glance looks like strength starts looking like a performance of composure. Because Olandria said it herself, no one here is going to be strong for me, so I have to be strong for myself. Which I know a lot of us can relate to. And seeing someone say that on a platform like Love Island was powerful. But what it also did was reveal and say a lot about Black womanhood in America. Black women are often taught in indirect or maybe direct ways that strength means enduring pain in silence.
It's much like a strong woman.
Always so strong.
Yeah. How are you not crying, bitch? I've been having to be strong my whole life. You know?
This is one of, if not the most, vulnerable moment Olandria had on her run on Love Island. And we keep returning to the same word, strong. And while these comments are usually meant as praise and admiration, I think it's important to look at the connotations that come with calling a Black woman strong. And we all know about the strong Black women trope, right? It is a concept that has been beaten down to a pulp. It's very, very tired, and we tired. But Black feminist Marsha Ann Gillespie describes it like this. It's almost as if we're judging a performance instead of empathizing with her life. She also writes, she who so desperately needs our help is placed on a pedestal to be admired rather than helped. Dr. Cheryl L. Woods Giscombe developed a framework called Superwoman Schema. And this is a framework that explains the impact of Black women's unwavering obligation to suppressing emotions, to show strength, resist vulnerability, and prioritize others over their own well-being. She says that while these traits can foster resilience, pride, and survival, it acts as a double-edged sword because these roles often lead to anxiety, depression, and physical health disparities because self-care gets sacrificed. And when self-care is sacrificed or even abandoned, it always comes at a cost. For Olandria and Black women on Love Island, we constantly see this framework play out in plain sight.
I need all of my Arab baddies to gather around the fire pit immediately because we need to discuss the covert anti-Blackness from this scene in episode 2.
Olandria and Taylor, please make your decision now.
I'm just a bunch of bad little kids. I'm proud of you. Brownie point. I don't like this. I don't like this. Y'all deserve some real men.
Girl, you don't have to play that.
What do you mean?
I'm saying, like, we're not upset.
No, I'm just saying.
No, you've been supportive. I love that, but it's okay. Just have a nice little chat. Okay. Later. That's fine. Okay. Why she crying? I don't know. I hope it's not because of what I said.
What
what she said. She was like, no, don't do that in front of everyone. Talk to me in private. Say something like that. Why would you say something like that in front of everybody instead of saying it in private?
The first set of tears in the villa is because of me. I feel like a shit either. I don't like it either. But I wouldn't about it another way. Yes, and I do admit that, and I do apologize. I don't want you to feel like you don't have anybody, because I know how that feels. Like, it does feel very lonely. But I do truly value our friendship, and I don't want you to feel like that ever.
I care about you guys, and I just felt like in that moment no one cared about me. And I wish that you just talked to me.
Yeah.
Just for future.
I was going forward, I was talking to you first, bitch. Like, hey. And I do apologize to my audience.
I appreciate it for apologizing.
You're welcome.
Now, this moment irritated me to no end, not only because of my personal disdain for Huda, but because let's go back. This is episode 2 of Love Island, so this is very early days. So there is no real expectation of loyalty here. So the fact that all the guys stood up is not a huge deal. And even though Olandria says no one's angry, I believe that they were probably irritated that their guys stood up. So when Huda is making comments like, you guys deserve real men, my man, my man, my man, it's coming off as condescending. We can debate on the intentions behind the comments that Huda made. I would like to think that she was being supportive in this moment. So regardless of how we feel about it, I think as a friend, you have to take a step back when your friend is saying, hey, don't need that comment from you right now. Take a step back and say, hey, like, my bad, and move on from there. I don't think anyone with real emotional intelligence would take that moment and make it about themselves and not about the issue at hand. But hey, we live in the world that we live in. And going back to the Superwoman schema framework, as a Black woman, we often feel pressure to put our emotions to the side and nurture and comfort somebody else. And in this case, Olandria goes up and apologizes to her and does so again and again and again, specifically with Huda during her time on Love Island. And this is exactly why we're talking about the strong Black woman trope and the Superwoman schema framework. It's because the pressure Black women feel to maintain the peace and resist vulnerability and perform strength is exactly what gets Black women praised and rewarded in society. But I don't believe that that is what true strength can look like. I believe that vulnerability is a strength. I believe that standing up for yourself is a strength. And I believe that setting boundaries is a strength. But when we do that, we get punished.
Of course you're a tape boy in Mayfair. What'll she do? Fucking stand in Mayfair and go tape every weekend? Like, boring.
Sorry, what did you say, babe?
What?
What did you say about Mayfair?
We're talking about tape.
Yeah, but what did you say?
I said that me and Dee had a conversation about tape earlier and you said you go tape. Don't think there's anything wrong in saying that, do you?
I think it's the way you said it, but okay.
I say it with my chest.
Because I'm not trying to be like, argue with you. I said sorry for shouting over at you in the garden.
He's my man to the hideaway.
I have no loyalty to you though.
No, she's not speaking to my Meg like that.
So what is your problem?
But you've just tried to take my man to the hideaway after saying shouting at me.
It's been a few days.
Yeah,
calm
and
down.
your place here is irrelevant.
Yeah, and
But
you're
don't try
irrelevant,
and you're irrelevant. Don't try and say sorry and then take my man to the fucking hideaway. You're lucky you got rejected.
Well done, Meg.
Go on, Meg.
Fuck, like grow the fuck up. You're a fucking idiot.
Don't fucking call her an idiot. Now near for that.
Shut up. Did you hear what she was saying to me?
What is she on fire across again? I can hear you from here.
Shut up. The fuck?
Go back to tape.
Are you okay? Like, grow up.
She just said I can do what the fuck I want. Where's the respect in that? Fucking idiot.
And this is exactly what I mean. The conversation immediately stops being about the issue at hand and becomes about tone. How she said, how loudly she said it. And I think Black women know this play all too well. Because once a Black woman is assertive or, God forbid, visibly frustrated, people will immediately stop engaging with what's actually being said and start policing how it's being said instead. And that is called tone policing. And I think that reality shapes behavior more than we might be willing to admit. Because if expressing hurt gets you labeled angry, aggressive, combative, difficult, then of course, maintaining a certain level of composure just feels safer. Because we've seen it with our own eyes, the consequences of expressing said hurt. We've seen and experienced with our own eyes that emotional restraint and emotional suppression is what is going to get you rewarded.
Just out, chin up. Yeah. You know what I mean? Through it all, even with tears in your eyes, chin up.
And this doesn't come out of nowhere. Black women have been expected to survive the unsurvivable and keep going for a very, very long time. Because during slavery, Black women were forced to perform exhausting physical labor and endure horrific violence and trauma, and still continue functioning day after day as if their pain did not matter. There was no space for softness. There was no space to fall apart. And there was definitely no space to be emotionally vulnerable. And those expectations still echo into today. Now it looks different. It's more social. The more composed you remain, the more graceful you appear, the more emotionally palatable you are to other people. Easier it becomes to move through the world socially. You keep sweet and obey. And watching Olandria navigate all of this throughout the season felt like someone successfully navigating the same social performance Black women are constantly having to navigate on an everyday basis. Staying emotionally controlled, even while you're hurting, even while you're exhausted, even while carrying the emotional weight for everyone around you. And as many viewers, including myself, admired Olandria's composure throughout this season, I also found myself wondering, how much of that composure came from genuine emotional peace and maturity, and how much of that came from survival?
I've been having to be strong my whole life, you know.
We can have a handshake. Ain't that something? Me? I'm gonna handshake with nobody.
Maybe you do not like
Maybe. Maybe.
We should have saw the red flags. We should have saw the red flags. We should have ran, girl. We should have ran. Man, if that is an eye-opening clip, I don't know what is. Anyway, we're going to be talking about desirability. I'm not just talking about romance. And although we're talking about Love Island, romance has a lot to do with desirability, but I'm talking about the Black experience around being desired at all. Because desirability affects way more than just dating. It affects who's desired socially and professionally. Who is seen as someone worth investing into, someone worth protecting. And that's where representation comes in, because whether it's on a TV screen, a silver screen, or a dating show that takes place on an island, the media undoubtedly shapes our ideas and perceptions around who is desirable. And since the earliest days of American film, Black activists understood this. Organizations like the NAACP challenged racial portrayals in Hollywood because they understood the power of representation. Because for a long time, the character portrayals of Black people were often written around stereotypes and caricatures. However, these portrayals were the very ones that were being rewarded and lifted into the stratosphere of success and desirability. In fact, the first two Black people to receive an Academy Award were representations of these very stereotypes and caricatures. First being Hattie McDaniel's portrayal of Mammy, a maid in Gone with the Wind in 1940. And James Baskett, the first Black actor to win an honorary Academy Award for his performance of Uncle Remus in Disney's Songs of the South. And this isn't a critique of their talent. No, they were incredible performers, but the roles matter. And here again, there's a double-edged sword because Hattie McDaniel said it best. I would rather play a maid than be one. Do you want me to make actor money or do you want me to make maid money? I can't argue with that. So even as Black actors were making these historical landmark achievements, the performances being rewarded were often rooted in stereotypes that fed into white audiences' racist ideals. So again, this isn't just entertainment. This is intentional shaping of perceptions in America. So it was incredibly limiting. Black people were only allowed to exist on their terms. So for Black women, you could be the mammy, who is maternal, self-sacrificing, emotionally resilient, existing primarily in service to other people.
Fix them up for the judge to wear.
Or you could be the tragic mulatto, light-skinned, desirable, but you're exoticized and romanticized, but still filtered through proximity to whiteness.
But you don't know what it is to look white and be Black. You don't know. I can't go on this way any longer.
And even though these portrayals did look different on the surface, they were still boxes. And to be more specific, dark skinned black women were rarely portrayed as feminine and romantic and soft and graceful. So we cannot ignore how these dynamics still echo into our society today. Like I said, the racism might not be as blatant as it was back in early Hollywood, but it doesn't mean those ideas ever disappeared. They've just evolved. You can still feel the echoes of that in reality television, especially on shows like Love Island. Because honestly, this could be a whole separate video. But black women, especially dark-skinned black women on Love Island, are routinely put in these positions where they are sidelined, overlooked, humiliated, and made to feel undesirable. And after a while, it stops feeling accidental. When season after season, we're casting people who seemingly do not like black women. This starts to feel intentional. Like we mentioned before, in early Hollywood, these things were intentional to perpetuate white supremacy and racism in America by portraying black people in the ways that they saw black people. So, do you see the connections that I'm trying to make? These things are not accidental. The casting and the producers, they have control on who gets framed as desirable, who gets framed as lovable, who gets centered, who gets chosen. Cast from Love Island said to Grazia magazine this: as the days and then weeks went on, my thinking started to change. I thought, hang on a moment, everybody in here has a type which isn't me. I was honest with the show's production and psychologist and flagged them about how I was feeling. Last thing I wanted to be was a box ticker. And aside from being petite, I just wasn't fitting in with what the guys were wanting on paper. Cass goes on to tell Grazia that outside of the villa, this was not how my dating life looked. Yes, I had been single for a few years, but that doesn't mean I didn't get approached by guys. So I had to remind myself that this was a unique situation, and I am still that girl, and decided that I wasn't going to let it knock my confidence. And this quote is exactly why I question the intention of the people behind the scenes. Because Cass isn't saying that she's undesirable. Oh, look at the material. In fact, she's explicitly saying that outside of the villa, hotline is blinging. But she's saying that the environment itself is sending a message about who gets pursued and who gets chosen. And after enough seasons, the messaging behind it becomes crystal clear. And what's interesting is that Olandria was not exempt from these dynamics. In fact, most of the season looked remarkably familiar, even though as a distinction, she was definitely with the same person for the majority of the season, but she wasn't consistently prioritized. She wasn't always the one chosen.
I think Clark.
And then it just became clear to me that her partner was using her as a placeholder until somebody he really wanted came into the villa.
I think Clark.
Which, again, is a dynamic that viewers know all too well. So I can't say that Olandria just had this perfect, remarkable season, because she did not. She was literally on her way out of the villa. She got dumped from the villa. The difference is she was able to redeem her story. Her story did not end with her leaving the villa. Not only did she find a connection that felt genuine, reciprocal, and emotionally alive, she became the breakout star of the whole season. And I think that's what made her journey so significant. Not because she avoided the pattern, but because she transcended it. And I also like to mention that girl is stunning. Like, hair, body, like everything. Face card it's editorial. It's giving fashion icon. It's giving model. So we do have to list that on one of her pluses for desirability. But I still think that reality TV has a lot of catching up to do when it comes to Black women on reality television. And we've seen progress in other forms of media. We've seen Black women portrayed with more complexity, vulnerability, softness, sensuality, emotional depth, and femininity in scripted television and film. But reality TV dating shows will still often reduce Black women to the same dynamics over and over. You know, being overlooked, being placeholders, and made to feel less desirable than everybody around them. So even without winning the show, she became the most sought after Islander on her season. Brand deal after brand deal, massive public support. Everybody wanted Olandria. And just knowing the history behind how Black dark-skinned women have historically been depicted on TV, this felt glorious. It felt powerful. It felt overdue, and it felt correct. Because Olandria didn't fit into the box that media often tries to put Black women in. She was soft and glamorous, funny and emotionally intelligent, desired and deeply cared for. She wasn't just reduced to a stereotype, not reduced to a struggle, not reduced to a service. Just fully seen.
Go back to Miss America, remember? Remember Bert Parks, remember? White people were in white heaven there with them. Oh, there. The body language. There she is. Miss America. Sing it, Bert. Oh, there she is. And she was blonde, white. Miss
America. There she is, your ideal, the dream of a million girls who are more than pretty, can come true in Atlantic City, for she may turn out to be the queen of femininity. There she is, Miss America. There she is, your ideal.
Honestly, the Miss America pageant tells you everything you need to know about how femininity has historically operated in America. Because at its core, the pageant wasn't just about beauty, it was about presenting an ideal, the ideal type of womanhood, the ideal type of femininity. And even the song says it. There she is. Your ideal. And that ideal, for a very long time, was explicitly white. Literally. So there were 8 rules and regulations in which the Miss America contestants had to abide by, which inherently sounds pretty normal. But the 7th rule, and I quote, contestants had to be in of good health and of the white race. And this was so until its abolishment in 1950. So literally written into the rules of the most culturally symbolic celebration of femininity in America, the ideal type of womanhood was white. That's America. And while that one was probably the worst one, the rest of the rules were also pretty bad. They reinforced a very narrow view of what femininity is. The contestants had to be single, never married, never divorced, never pregnant, poised, beautiful, charming, respectable. The pageant just wasn't about rewarding beauty. The pageant was rewarding conformity to a very specific kind of womanhood. These rules literally spelled out who America considered worthy of representing ideal femininity. So when we're talking about femininity in America, we have to talk about whiteness. We just do. Because whiteness was embedded into the standard itself. Period. End of story. Of course, we can go back into history and talk about early feminism and how that didn't include Black people. But that's not the video we're talking about today. We're talking about Miss America, the Miss America event, and how this white standard being upheld and embedded into the culture and the standard of femininity in America. Where do Black women fit into all of that? Because it wasn't until 1983 that Vanessa Williams became the first Black woman crowned Miss America. And that was monumental, genuinely a historic moment. Vanessa Williams represented a version of Black femininity that mainstream America felt more comfortable embracing at that time. You know, she was light-skinned, she was elegant, she was refined, conventionally glamorous. And even the runner-up and the person who replaced her was also light-skinned. And I think that matters. And it's not because Vanessa Williams wasn't deserving. She absolutely was. But because colorism has always shaped which Black women are granted easier access to mainstream desirability, femininity, and public acceptance. And I think all of this matters when we're talking about Olandria, because if we're trying to understand why so many people resonated with her, we also have to understand the standards Black women have historically been asked to navigate in order to receive widespread acceptance. Because as I was mentioning earlier, When it comes to desirability and display of femininity, historically speaking, it was always light-skinned people who represented that. And dark-skinned people were just slaves and servants. And as I said, we've evolved over time, but the echoes are still there. Of course, we've seen great dark-skin representations on film and television across many different media platforms, but specifically with reality TV, we're still a little bit behind, especially on shows like Love Island. But still, us as a society, we still have these things subconsciously in our brains about how certain people should be acting. And so with Olandria, she embodied a lot of these traits that America has traditionally associated with femininity. And she did so effortlessly. She had the poise, the beauty, the articulateness, the warmth, the charm, the emotional control, the social grace. And she embodied all of this while being a dark-skinned woman. And with the cherry on top, did not compensate her blackness to access all of those things. That's also a really big component here, because for a very long time, Black women, especially dark-skinned Black women, were often forced into a silent but impossible choice within mainstream media. You can either be undeniably Black or be considered universally desirable. And so take with that what you will. But Olandria, she disrupted all of that. She never watered herself down. She was fully herself, and people loved her for it. Because throughout the season, she successfully navigated every single event that we talked about today. Composure, femininity and desirability, and the Miss Americaness of existing in public as a Black woman. This is the Black Woman Olympics. And she managed to do all of this while remaining authentic to herself and keeping her humanity about her. Because us as viewers, we can always tell when somebody is being a little PR, a little disconnected from themselves and who they truly are and trying to cover up and be a certain way and put on a front. We can always tell.
About Clark and Taylor being like 10th place.
I feel great.
All the challenge.
I don't know why you think I was gonna be fake, because you know real. You thought I was gonna give a PR answer? And hell no. Nick, you know me. You know.
Hey, maybe she's a real good actor. But I think that also plays a huge role in why people resonated with Olandria so much. She was genuine. She was grounded. And to be clear, I don't think Olandria is this perfect person. I didn't agree with every single thing that she did in the villa. No, I don't agree with Taylor. I don't love the idea of Black women feeling like they constantly have to emotionally suppress and take things on the chin. No. But I think watching a dark-skinned Black woman be loved so publicly and protected and desired and celebrated publicly genuinely felt healing. And as we're heading into another season of Love Island, I want the producers to know we just want to see Black women be loved. We want to see them be loved. We're tired of the tropes. We clearly see with Serena and Olandria that we as viewers, we are rooting for these Black women. So put people on there that like Black women. For the love of God, please. We want to see Black women be loved and revered. We want to see them laugh and experience joy and not tolerated, not humiliated, not a placeholder, not sidelined, but loved. And I hope Black women everywhere of all ages know that Olandria wasn't just a phenomenon, but let her be a reminder to as who we already are. We embody so much. Let her be a reminder to how expansive Black womanhood has always been. And maybe that's the takeaway in all of this. Not that Black women need to become more palatable, more composed, or more perfect, but that we deserve the freedom to exist fully as we are. Authentically, to be soft without apology, to be emotional without punishment. And maybe that's how we stop performing survival and we allow ourselves to heal and to thrive beyond it.